Hello, welcome back to MotoLabDirtBikes.com. I'm Rob Kosler. Today we're going to touch on suspension basics and setup. So what this entails is making sure you have the proper spring rate for your weight and your bike type. So consulting your factory manual is definitely a good place to start. If they don't have the suggested info for you, feel free to give us a call and we'd be happy to guide you along and provide some suggestions for that. If you got a new bike, perfect. Your oil's already fresh. But if you're still blasting around the old trusty friend for the last 10 years and haven't touched the oil, now is probably a good time to consider having that thing serviced. So now that you have the spring rate properly in there for your weight and fresh oil, you'll be able to reset the clickers and start with a baseline. So that'll allow you to build from there. So you'll have obviously the trifecta going on. You got the right spring rate, fresh oil, sag set, so you're going to be good, and obviously the clickers as well. So that is definitely the first steps into making sure that you have your suspension properly set up for your weight. Because otherwise, if you could imagine a bike that's set up for 170 some pounds and you're a bigger guy or a smaller guy, you're either going to have it way choppered out, you're going to have all kind of steering issues, and when you're too heavy for the stock springs, what that does is you sit on the bike and now you're 3-4 inches down in the stroke farther than it's intended to be, and the geometry is going to be off, it's going to push through turns, it's going to be harsh, it's going to be hacky and unpredictable. So those are kind of things you got to watch out for, and having the proper suspension basics set up is definitely the way to go. So feel free to give us a call if you have any questions. We'd be happy to answer that for you. A couple other things to look out for once you have your suspension off that affect suspension performance is the age of your tires. If you got old tires, they're going to be hard, be harsh and deflective, and also what tire pressure you're running. That's going to make a huge difference on the overall bike handling and suspension performance. So 12 to 15 off-road is going to be a good average base. Of course, you could always adjust and go lower for muddier conditions for grip. But that's going to be up to you. And another thing to take into consideration is the suspension linkage and swing arm bearings. Big player in the game in the back end. As far as up front, steering head bearings, that's always something to keep greased frequently as well. It's going to affect the overall handling of your bike. And taking and making sure that if you're running a steering stabilizer, that it's not cranked all the way in on the low speed. If you have like a Scots, they have a 2-circuit adjustability capability. So that's all things to keep in consideration. So I hope you found this helpful in finding this basic suspension setup. And we really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us here, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. All right, see you out on the trail. Hurrah!